Thanks for joining us tonight for a Dreamtime Transmission. Hopefully, these dreams help you drift into sleep easily. I would greatly appreciate it if you liked and subscribed before you drift off. New videos are released every night, so join us tomorrow if you like. Thank you, and good night.
From Solid Stats. One of my favorite dreams is running on all fours. It's like I grab the ground with my hands and launch myself forward. Probably the only time I can be fast and agile in my dream. Also, jumping from all fours is insane. I have crazy vertical and control. Anyone else have these dreams? Is it something instinctual when we were lesser apes? Maybe has some deeper meaning?
From Kalashtar, I've had a few dreams where it's a normal dream. Alien invasion, late to work, college stuff, etc. But then suddenly, I wake up and I realize that I was dreaming before. I can remember what that dream entailed, and sometimes when I'm awake, I'll tell other people about what I just dreamt about. Except, I'm still dreaming. I woke up from a dream inside a dream. The coolest dream that included this dream inception was of an alien invasion. Then when I awoke, I told people about my very vivid dream. Then the dream happened, and I couldn't believe it was real. Except it wasn't, because I was still dreaming, haha. Has anyone else experienced this? What did your dreams entail? What causes these dreams inside dreams?
From Help My PCPLs. I dreamt about my phone being stolen by a classmate I don't event talk to. I gave him the phone because he wanted to use it for some reason, and he ran away with it. That was the first dream, so after waking up and opening my eyes, lying down, feeling weird and hollow, almost like something spiritually was stolen away from me, to the point it didn't feel real. It was the weirdest feeling in my life, to the point I felt soulless and fictional. I slept once again, and this time the classmate that stole my phone gave it back for some reason. There was no relief because I was worried he went through all my socials and stuff to change the password. That was the second dream, and after waking up, I could see colors brighter, and for some reason I felt alive in some sense of a way. Almost like my soul was taken and given back. I took a dissociative drug, DXM, earlier the day, and the dosage aren't even close for it to become dissociative. Definitely weirder than the dream when I saw Lucifer, because I couldn't see a difference between it being a dream or real life.
From Goofy Goober 2099. I had a dream last night wherein my classmate in elementary, whom had a crush on me that time, asked me in the present if I would like to fuck her. Back then, I wasn't really into her, but now, damn. I just want to share this because I really thought we could come back after almost a decade, but she's in a relationship now. I was just super turned on in my dream that when I woke up, I can't stop thinking about it to the point of questioning myself if that was real. I even looked through my messenger if we had that conversation. Man, it really is hard to be alone. Nobody to share your dreams with. Not this particular dream, though. Haha. Cheers to everyone.
From Naladeglamzo9 I-25F. Often dream about murdering people and creatures like zombies. Every time it's to take care of myself or others. But why do I enjoy so much? All the stabbing and sawing and shooting and blood everywhere. I mean, in the awake life, I pretty much enjoy gory stuff like movies, and I'm into medicine and veterinary, but I'll never hurt a fly. Why do I enjoy it while I'm dreaming? Is it normal? I'm afraid to talk about this with my shrink and end up in the Seek Guard again. But I'll do it if I'm in risk of hurting anyone. Please help.
From Miracat Mew. Hi all, 2 nights ago, I had a dream with an obese man having very satisfying relations. I remember wanting to call him Daddy at the peak, but felt as if it would weird him out. Last night I had a dream with another very fat man, but instead there were other people there. They were trying to pressure me, saying I needed to sleep with the fat man for science, and that it would save us from the monkeys. We were in the jungle, and there were monkeys all around us, hiding in the trees. The fat man was uncomfortable at my unwillingness and could not get the right blood flow to perform. Ultimately, we had to run from the monkeys. We lost some of our crew. I don't remember much else in the dream, except for a handsome man driving a red 90s Miata. He helped me. In both dreams, I was on top of the large men, cowgirl style. Also in both dreams, the intercourse or lack thereof was outside. I think they were both brunette as well. So, what is the meaning of all this? Any insights? I am not normally attracted to obese men, and was in the dreams, so I don't think this was a secret fantasy whatnot type. Thank you very much. I hope you all have a lovely day. With love, Mirror Cat Mew.
From Ilaxalo. This is going to sound crazy, but I just had a dream about a fish goddess I'd never heard of. I was given a stone carving of a fish and her name, which I'm really mad at myself for not writing down as soon as I woke up, because I've kind of forgotten it now. But I know it was mostly vowels. I believe it was something like oo, at, eat, meat. I know the fist oo and the last vowel being I is correct for certain. I also remember thinking while half asleep that I might spell that last bit with a Y instead of an I. Anyway, after the stonefish and the name were presented to me, I remember thinking that it sounded like an Egyptian name due to the ending. I was then presented with an Egyptian carving that showed the goddess as a human with the same fish on top of her head. I was also told that while she was an Egyptian goddess in that they worshipped her during that time as well, she was actually older than Egypt and was only adopted into the pantheon. All this to say, I had never heard of this goddess until I Googled Egyptian fish deities as soon as I woke up, and everything lines up. The name is similar, it just has the addition of the oo at the beginning and is less consonanty, and even the fact that she is older lines up, as her name is translated as she who is in front of the fish, which is believed to mean either that she was the most dominant fish goddess in Egypt or the first fish goddess. Now, what am I supposed to do with this? Why has a goddess I've never heard of before been presented to me in a dream like this? From Hello Dreamer. Hello Dreamer, in a role reversal, I dreamt of you the other night. It was late. We were upstairs in a small bedroom, with the distinct yellow illumination from a floor lamp. We sat next to each other, eating snacks, facing our laptops. It was in these moments when we would return to being giddy children. We got lost in jokes and nuanced conversations. In a funny gesture, you and I both stuck our tongues out at the same exact moment. Our tongues met. I had bubble gum on my tongue, and it transferred to your tongue. This was gross and uncomfortable for both of us. You immediately got up and covered your eyes with your palms and walked into the bathroom, locking the door. I heard the squeak of the faucet sink and the water run. I embarrassed you. I felt bad. I slipped into the hallway for a few moments and closing the door behind me. When I returned, I saw your body curled up on the floor, your face hidden behind your hands. Are you okay? My voice hit a high pitch, one I no longer have in my undream life. The sound alone surprised us both. I dropped down to the floor and crossed my legs. I said the words, "How can I support you?" In one motion, you crawled into my lap, tenderly wrapping your hands around my hips. Still unable to face me, you buried your face into my thigh. I didn't give you permission to touch me, but you just did it. You no longer feared me. You surrendered to us. I placed my hand on the back of your head. As I caressed your head, I watched your shiny hair move between the webbing of my fingers. I took my hand from your head to your shirt. I stroked your back, feeling the wrinkles of your shirt move under the skin of my palm. The dream faded into gray smoke, and then it disappeared. Left alone, darkness, I became very aware it was over. I couldn't go back into it now.
From Tisai Him. Within the last 6 months, I have been diagnosed with a type of epilepsy, and prior to that, I have had no dreams since childhood that I can properly remember. However, when I got my meds, I started having actual dreams again, and they are pretty fun, at least to me. 2 more recent dreams have really intrigued me though, so I will explain them. First dream, I am a researcher of presumably prehistoric dinosaur-era fossils, and was on a huge expedition with over 1,000 other people to this remote, alien-looking desert place with a gaping, multi-mile wide hole. Bases were set up around the hole, and all was well until something happened, and the area miles around the hole have been force-fielded off, and creatures start to emerge from the hole that everyone has to fight. From these creatures that you take out, you gain evolutionary energy that can be used to change yourself however you wish, but in purely monstrous, animalistic ways, and I took advantage of my knowledge of prehistoric creatures to amplify myself. So after the initial few days of chaos, new camps are established, and there are essentially people I come to know that fight against the creatures with me. However, as time went on, people became too feral from the evolutionary energy to stay grouped up, and everything went to hell once again. The dream ended on kind of a cliffhanger, with under 100 people remaining, and the only option being to basically go into the hole to presumably fight more dangerous creatures. Second dream. I remember a random theme park that I visited once a long time ago as a kid, and decide to go back to it with family. This theme park is kinda strange though, in that it's like the mixture between a circus and water park. Yet I did not know of this going into the park, because from what I remembered, it was a regular fun park. So we get there, and the place feels very spacious, yet also not. It's very liminal, with everything looking familiar, yet somewhat abandoned due to there being not a ton of people. Oh, and the location of it is on the coast, along the water, perhaps even delving into it. We go into the park fairly late, and everyone kind of splits up, and I'm left in a line by myself for what used to be my favorite ride. But when I get to the front, I enter what looks to be an auditorium, with basically everyone else in the theme park there. The owner of the theme park comes out, and she looks and acts a lot like the headmaster in that Wednesday show, probably where my brain got it, puh. She announces we are trapped there, which signals that she's the villain or some jazz. And it's also kinda implied in the dream that she's probably not human. The theme park is basically her domain, and she looks to have snapped or something. Next part I don't remember, but it's essentially a bunch of episodic events that lead to the reveal that the owner is some kind of giant ant creature and isn't actually a villain, and that the local government is to blame for the situation due to them limiting the domain of the owner, as well as murdering basically the rest of her species. The government is also to blame for the theme park itself, because they only allowed the owner to exist due to the profit the theme park could bring. In the end, the owner basically learns all of humanity isn't bad and teams up with me and others to destroy the local government. We did it at the cost of the owner's life though, so yeah.
From our 5 cats, as usual for me, it's a brief description of a highly detailed dream fragment. I was working in a daycare. I really was a daycare worker for around 10 years. It was quite a big and open space. There weren't many kids and a lot of staff. Most of the staff were doing other stuff and not watching the kids at all. I recognized a few from my real-life jobs, and a few of the kids too. They were all good kids, except one little fellow who kept biting others. Not hard, but it annoyed them. They'd come to me for help since the rest of the staff didn't even respond. I tried distracting him through play, but his attention span was a few seconds. Then he'd wander off and bite another kid. His mother was suddenly looking through the window. She smiled and called and waved to him. Through the glass, you could hardly hear it. He was happy to see her and promptly bit another kid. Again, not hard or damaging. And the mother was completely unfazed. It starts at home, I guess.
From inside Emer's room. My dad passed away when I was really young. At the time I was 6. I don't have any valuable recollections of him because, as I said, I was really young and didn't understand what was going on. But I do have some quite strange memories after his death. I'm an Orthodox Christian, and we have this thing called Saturday of the Souls. Not an exact translation, as it's a Greek term and don't know how to really translate it. But in Greek, it's Psyosavado, and the souls of the dead people are free to wandering the earth again. Anyway, I think it was a few months after my father passed away, and my mom and aunt went to the church at the evening, leaving me and my older sister at the house. It started getting late and dark, so my sister fell asleep in the living room while I was there with her watching TV. At some point I just turned, but head to the direction of our balcony and say a bodiless figure, kind of like the outline of a person's body waving at me. So I immediately thought it was my dad, but I already knew he was dead, so I kind of got scared and started crying. I obviously told my mom this when she got back, but she didn't believe me. I wouldn't believe either a 6-year-old telling me they could see dead people. But little kids are real scary, so then again, I would kind of consider it. Maybe it was just tricks of my imagination because I missed him at the time. But a year later, I think, I dreamt about wearing this classic white nightgown that every little girl in horror movies wear, and I was just walking at the streets at midnight while being barefoot, and I would take the road to the graveyard where there's a path full of sharp gravel leading to the graves. Something important that I skipped is that I was holding a seashell in my hand. Anyway, when I found my father's grave, I went there and just climbed up there and fell asleep holding this seashell. The next day, me and my mom went to visit him and found the same exact seashell that I dreamt about. So I asked if she put it there at some point, and she said she didn't. Now the strange, scary, weird thing is, 1, no relative or close person of ours that would visit his grave was collecting this kind of seashells, and they were always in my room. So it would kind of be a bit impossible for someone else to put it there. 2, when I was around that age, I had a history of sleepwalking where I would get out of the house most of the times. 3, my feet had cuts as if I was walking barefoot on gravel.
From Dixoxo. Context: this flame is someone I've never seen naked or been intimate with. Call it a thwarted friends to lovers trope. He was in a relationship, so 3 years into our friendship, I confessed my feelings and ended it. He held back, and I haven't seen him since. Over a year later, this spring, I reached out and the conversation turned into a heart-to-heart, and he finally confessed all the feelings he's had for me that he tried to deny, push away. And then we ended communication again, supposedly for good. We reconnected again in June, special circumstance, and haven't spoken since, but all these years later, I can't seem to forget about him and my feelings won't go away. The dream: I'm at a formal party at some swanky boutique hotel, professional cocktail attire, and I spot him in the lobby with his girlfriend just as the party is ending, and they are among a group of people walking out. He sees me, says goodbye to her last minute, and rushes to me. He's quite drunk, he hardly drinks IRL, and if so, nothing beyond 1 drink. Immediately, he starts sloppily hugging me and holding me. He backs me into a wall and hovers over me, then pulls away. Comes back again to hold me. I can tell he's very emotional and aroused, but obviously frustrated and trying to hold back. The entire time, I'm passively going with the flow and observing, not judging him but not talking about us or anything that he's doing. He takes me to a fairly public bedroom facing a cafe. We end up in bed. He's holding me again, pulls away from me again and masturbates until he ejaculates under the cover. He's trying to prove that he is loyal and can control himself by not having sex with me, but also showing me how badly he wants me by doing this next to me. We get up and he takes me to the rooftop pool party. Same messy behavior. And then he tells me we're getting out of here. Doesn't say where, and I don't ask. We're going downstairs. I realized I forgot my stuff in that weird bedroom. I'm gathering my things scattered all over this room. He was helping me at first, but then begins to watch me when I started having all kinds of wardrobe mishaps and exposing my body accidentally. I also kind of didn't care because he's seeing parts of my body for the first time, and I want him to, even if it's in public. When I'm done, I see that he disappeared. I look for him and find him in another room sitting on a chair, naked. I'm realizing this is the first time ever I'll be seeing his penis, and I'm getting excited, curious. I get closer and see that it's a very thin twig. I thought, how will this satisfy me? And I start to freak out internally. How can I love and choose a man with a thin twig penis? He's masturbating intensely, and I just stand and watch him. It swells and swells into a massive log. As it was growing, I felt relieved until it got too big and deformed looking. It swelled to the point that a blistery bubble formed, as if it were being inflated. I was so horrified and confused. I woke up. Any help interpreting, making sense of the dream would be great, especially the penis bit.
From Illustrious Clerk 82. I apologize in advice for any spelling or grammar errors. I recently had a dream of my late father. Mind you, my father died in the house I still live in, and I sleep in his room where he died, but he did pass asleep peacefully in his bed, who has been dead only for a couple years. It started me off in the kitchen I grew up in. Everything was how it was when I was a kid. Me and my grandfather were standing there talking to my father, who's which was many years younger in this dream, while he sat in a chair. I can't remember fully what we were saying, but it was along the lines of Hun expressing his regret. And one line that sticks with me was, "I regret what I did in that bed." And his eyes started bleeding, and we kept telling him his eyes were bleeding, and he kept rubbing his eyes on the countertop, smearing it everywhere, which I think he even smiled at me. But I know we made eye contact and held it. During all of this, each time I felt like I was blinking or my eyes would close, I would be in the backyard I grew up in, and on the other side of the fence would just be a pile of clothes, right on the other side next to it, like he just disappeared. It would happen over and over during the whole time I was talking to him, but by the end of it, I knew it was the last time, and I was back outside just looking at the pile of his clothes, then eventually broke down, and that's when I woke up. I feel a lot lighter, like a weight was lifted off of me. Mind you, a lot has happened in the day before me falling asleep, so it could be stress, but I feel as if it was more. But I was just sharing, and if you would like to interpret it for me, that would be great help. But thank you for reading. From Lucky Goat 82. TU for discussion of gore violence. I had this dream about an ATF agent named Jason, and he died and he chose to donate his body to science. It did not and ended up being sold to an old couple on a farm ranch. They shipped it by airdrop and his body landed in a tree. They got his body down, tied it to a string along with a small child's body and a woman's body. They went inside the house and grabbed a high-caliber rifle, at least 50 BMG, and shot at the small child. The body exploded. They shot at the woman in the torso area. Her body was ripped in half. Then they shot at Jason, but Jason opened his eyes and yelled, "Wait, stop!" But they shot as he did this. The bullet hit his waist. His legs flew behind him, and his torso flew into a tree, all while you hear him screaming. I've never had dreams like this one, and I woke up nauseous. Any reason why I had this dream? P.S. I did not watch any horror movies or gore previously to this dream.
From Escaped Bird, I have a reoccurring nightmare situation where my brakes go out in my car. It's actually very interesting to me because I barely drive from day to day. Most of the time that I am in the car, my spouse is driving. But in my dreams, I drive often. And when I do, I sometimes get this nightmare where I am pulling up to something and my brakes go out. Or I'm going down a hill and the brakes go out. Or something jumps out in front of me and I can't stop because my brakes went out. I usually wake up from it with a racing heart and have trouble getting back to sleep afterwards. But here's the weird thing. In reality, when I rarely do drive, my car is an all-electric vehicle, the Kia EV6, with the regenerative braking on/one pedal driving, and I don't ever have to apply pressure to the brake. Super weird, and I really wish it would stop.
From UsedBit 4795. Back in 7th grade, I had broken off my friendship since childhood due to trust. Ever since then, I would have the same nightmares for years now. We would be at a school, and he was usually the new student. I was very scared when I would see him, and now I'm being chased by him, and I always end up somehow bashing his head with something. That's the usual nightmares I have of this guy, but now suddenly I've started having dreams, where again, we're at school. But this time, I'm not scared of him though. I don't want to see him, so I avoid him, which leads me to either trip or get lost, and he's always there to help me. After he helped me, it's suddenly the next school day, and now suddenly I want to see him and connect with him again. And again, he shows up, sits next to me, talks to me, and he even hugs, and I feel safe. Usually, this dream takes place in the present day, so it's not like my nightmares where I'm back in middle school. Is this a sign that maybe I should reconnect with him again?
From me 5Hell87. I know no one really enjoys hearing others' dreams, but this one seemed good enough to share. I'll do my best to recall everything. It started out in some sort of courtroom where the main character, Sarah, 16F, was arguing with her mother about being able to date. She already had a boyfriend. Mother won the court case, and Sarah immediately went to her older brother and sister and collected as much money as they could give her. Sarah stole her mother's car and ran away from home. She no longer cared about the boyfriend. She just wanted her freedom. She was driving at night, and she ran out of gas. 3 men stopped and murdered her. They skinned her alive and buried her under an abandoned house close by. They did nothing with the car. Her older siblings were supposed to meet with her at a diner the next day, and of course she didn't show, so they looked for her. They found the car and the abandoned house. This is where it gets weird. They go into the house and for some reason they decided to stay for a few days. After a night or two, they find this secret room called the Tink. The brother finds it first. The only thing is when you go into the room, you're a ghost and your body disappears completely. He goes into the room and finds Sarah, skinless. She tries to tell him what happened and to warn him of the people that come to the house. They are full of dark magic. The brother tells the older sister what he found and takes her to the room. While they are inside the dark magic, people come and do some sort of ritual. They look like shadows, almost ghosts, but because they are black, maybe demons. The children's ghosts slowly and painfully lose their skin. This is when I woke up. It was so vivid it felt like it could be real. Anyways, thanks for reading.
Hopefully, you aren't hearing this message because you are asleep, but if you are still awake, I would like to thank you for joining us for tonight's Dreamtime Transmission.